everybody else. So now that everybody's trying to get content and they got to do it from their crib, they all hustling on a crowded block. So now they got to sell 2 for $5s and trays and deuces. I want to sell weight, but I'm not saying that as it relates to illegal. I'm saying that in general. I don't want to sell nickels. I want to be the plug. Who desires to get a plug? Everyone should desire to be the plug.
I wanted to add something to that because that's true also when we're thinking about how to do system transformation, right? So you all know that I'm a public health physician and I'm a hospital administrator. So when you go into an organization, especially an organization where you're trying to flip the organization, you're trying to raise the level of quality, you're trying to raise the level for us in a healthcare institution, clinical excellence, it's about tipping point leadership. What Mr. Dash is describing is tipping point leadership. You got to tip the system, right? You got to make the system flip over and work for your greater good, work for so that we can thrive. Too often in our Black and brown communities, which have been saddled with isms, structural racism, saddled with economic poverty, has been saddled with segregation, has been saddled with Jim Crow. We have to display tipping point leadership that challenges the status quo of thinking in the system, that challenges the way the system operates. So what I hear you saying is to be that tipping point leader, to go into a situation and to figure out how you can flip the dynamic, how you can flip the table, and then set the trend, redefine the market.
I couldn't have said that any better myself.
It goes back to Proverbs 27:17, iron sharpens iron. And when you said you're a general, you talk to generals. So what it is you're incenting people, question each other, encourage each other. Like you always say, we all can eat. But it's iron sharpens iron. That is akin to you're a general. I affiliate with generals. I talk to generals. You are looking for generals. When you say you're a boss, you're looking for bosses because like minds come together to bring about change.
I couldn't have said that any better myself. Yeah.
I have a question, Mr. Dash. When I saw the series about Calvin Klein, I was really in awe for the actor who was playing Jay-Z because he really did look like a young Jay-Z. Within that, I saw, a whole little, short movie and so forth. But that being true, I wanted to ask you from a personal level, how do you think Jay-Z felt about Calvin Klein in a little clip he did on a personal note?
I don't know.
Good answer. Are they still friends?
It doesn't. I think it's kind of self-explanatory. Like I'm telling his OG story. I feel like maybe he should be telling his OG story. You know what I mean? But either way, I related to Calvin as a human being. And his experience was relatable. And really, the reason why I told his story first simply was because he showed up first. So when I had the idea, I was like, I told all the people that I think could be good for this, come out here. I'm shooting. And Calvin took the opportunity first. And then while he was out there, a whole lot of OGs came. And you're going to see those stories. So, we got OG Ryder's story from Newark. And he was the one that I was putting on that shot at the mayor. He was supposed to be on here. I don't know if he made it. He just called me. And then I have Carlton from the lynch mob. We did 18 years for 2 murders, and he describes exactly why and what he learned from it. I got Tash from LA, and there's so many different stories, and everyone has this kind of story, but not everyone survives this story. Not everyone lives to tell it. And to me, the only purpose of any one of us surviving these stories is so other people can learn from it. But if somebody else tells our story, they're going to tell you the wrong thing about the story. And we won't learn from it. It'll distract us. It'll glorify it and make us want to do it as opposed to not do it. When I tell these stories, I tell the upside, but there's always the downside that comes with it. So even with Paid in Full, you saw it, but you saw how it ended up. It starts off well, it never ends well. And this, right. And also it should be told properly. Like usually when other cultures tell our stories, they don't understand what about those stories are the things that are relatable to us because they can't relate. So we have to be the ones to tell our stories, and we can't dumb our stories down, and we shouldn't have to fit a format so that they can understand. We got to fit a format or make a format that we understand, and we monetize it, and we benefit from it, and that we learn from it. So we go forwards instead of backwards. And that's the whole purpose of everything that I'm doing. I'm trying to entertain people, but teach them at the same time. You know, and a lot what comes with that, I'm also showing you how to do it on your own. So I'm not gonna hide the plug, the connect. I'm the guy that's gonna hit you with the pound, and I'm gonna show you how to grow the weed. So I ain't gotta hit you no more. I'd rather you hit me with the pound. You understand what I'm saying? And that makes me proud when someone that I used to hit becomes the plug, because that means I changed the general.
Excellent.
So I have a question. My question is, the people who have gone in and they learn quickly that they were not bosses, for instance, because you said that some people really don't know how to survive. And right now, I'm dealing with a situation where my brother is struggling to survive. My brother spent over 20 years in prison. And so every time he reach out to me, I'm wearing many different hats for him. I'm wearing the hat of a loved one, the hat of a pastor, the hat of someone who's trying to rehabilitate him as best as I could, spiritually, and just by, trying to talk to him because he's afraid. Someone who has spent such a long period of time behind bars, and someone who has been paranoid behind bars. My question would be, how do we bring them into the fold to get them to believe in themselves again after having dealt with that lifestyle of being out of society for so long? Like my brother is, he's diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic, and I believe he received that diagnosis in prison. So he learned a lot about himself being in prison, and now that he's back in society, he's struggling. And so I was telling my husband, we have to find a way to, transition people who have been away from society, who no longer knows this world because they've been away for so long. What would be like a suggestion that you would have to transition someone, even mentally, from being behind bars for so long to come back into society and believe in themselves to become a boss?
Well,
Dane, can I answer that question?
sure.
Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this Calvin.
Let me say that.
Yeah.
So this is Calvin Klein, who he did check in. Can we see your picture, Calvin?
I don't even know how to do this, man. I'm struggling trying to figure this out.
Join the crowd.
So what do you see? Because I want everybody to see you because we can hear you.
At the end, it should have, at the very bottom, it should have a video.
Oh, that's dope. Calvin Klein's checking in.
Okay.
That's real dope.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Real person.
Yes.
Okay, there you
Hey,
go.
Calvin.
You said dope.
We see you.
All right.
There you go.
I appreciate you checking in, Calvin.
How you doing?
What's up, brother, man?
My brother.
What's
going on?
man?
Oh, amen.
Hey, shalom.
How are you?
How you doing? But I couldn't find a way to get to the mic or the speaker or whatever, though. But I was listening in all this time. The answer first gentleman's question.
Wait, you go pause. You
With
go.
Jay-Z and myself,
He's going in and
we
out.
didn't talk. If we saw each other, we started growing. Hello? Can you hear me?
For a second, it was going in and out. I can hear you now, though. Say that again.
Okay, no, I was saying that Jay-Z and I, we don't have any problems. We don't have any issues, though. But men grow apart from each other at times. And when you grow apart from that person, that doesn't mean that you have issues or don't like each other or anything of that nature. You know what I mean? In his life, I'm living mine. If we see each other, and it might should enjoy each other in that time. When I came out with my book, I didn't have any issues with him or his camp when they reached out to them. They allowed the book to go with not with assisted. I came out with my trail album with the series and promoting Better Me as well, again, with that VH1, Viacom, different networks, HBM, HBO as well. And they, at one point in time, never trust, cease and desist anything that I was doing. I really don't think that I'm putting any type of burden to myself or him with telling him this.
I think we lost him. I think his connection was bad. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I think
We
it's. I
can
think.
hear you, yes.
Can
I respond to a portion of what Apostle Pastor Pasha asked specifically about her brother, because it's an issue that we are struggling with, right, in public health, right? So when we think about population health, we think about the distribution of health outcomes in a particular population or group, and we think about the factors that influence that distribution of health outcomes, right? And your health is just not your physical health. Your health is also your mental health. Your health is your economic health. Your health is your spiritual health. And too often, before people go into prison, their behaviors are rooted in the toxic stress that they experience in the environments in which they were reared, right? So you have people who are, in essence, I have no other better way to say it than ticking time bombs, right? And then because of behaviors, the only outlet or opportunity for that behavior is a criminal pact, right? And then they get housed or warehoused in an industrial prison complex, which is our jails, our prisons, and they never get an opportunity to heal from those stressors. And then it's compounded in that prison system, and then they're released back into society sometimes, right? And so you don't see a comprehensive opportunity for people to have what we call wraparound services. You just can't drop somebody off. It's just like dropping a kid off in the street and saying, I expect you to be able to feed yourself, clothe yourself, and live. We are failing as a society because, one, we have people who we consider throwaways. We consider them throwaways before they go into prison, and we doubly consider them throwaways when they come out of prison. That's why we don't give people the mental health, access to the mental health services that we need. Look, let's just keep it very, very real. We can see from what's happening to the coronavirus. I've been speaking with my colleagues all across public health. We have been talking about structural racism for years. We have been talking about how racism determines your life and health outcomes, not just your access to health, not just your access to quality health, but your access to life exposure. And people are seeing that in real time because corona is hitting the black and browns. You've already seen that through the prison industrial complex. Right? The same type of system sickness. And until when a person is released, we offer them comprehensive services at release. What I'm talking about is giving people access to Medicaid immediately so they can have access to health care. So and there has to be mental health parity with what we describe as physical health parity. People should have social workers assigned to them. They should have case management assigned to them. Otherwise, how does a person who is carrying a complex, what we call medically and socially complex diagnoses and issues begin to thrive? We're not setting them up to thrive. Right? And until we as a society, right, can create and design intentionally systems that set people up to thrive, we will suffer as a society. But first we have to challenge the concept and the thinking that there are people who are throwaways, right? That's what those isms teach us. That's structural racism, right? When economic opportunity isn't freely accessible to all, that's what it teaches us. And so if I connect the first question and what Mr. Dash said to Pastor Pasha's question is, we have to be those tipping point leaders, and we have to literally throw the system on its head. And we have to look for opportunities to connect and collaborate across our networks, across our different entities. I'm a physician. We have entrepreneurs. We have creative artists. We have spiritual leaders. We have politicians or aspiring politicians. We have to look for intentional ways to get together and say, how do we cause this system to perform and produce a different outcome?
You should run for office. You do a lot of things. My answer to that is how I just deal with my friends that, are in jail. I have friends that, do 30, 20 years. And what they're mostly worried about is what they're going to do when they get home. So for me, I didn't depend on the prison system or the government. I set up my own system. you know, I have the wherewithal, you know, or to put someone on paper when they came home. So they had a job, so they weren't being stressed out by their PO officer. And I had the wherewithal to make sure someone had a place to live, and a car, and some jewelry. You know, they want to come out and be equal to everyone that's around them. Like, if someone goes to jail for selling drugs and he's an entrepreneur, he doesn't want to come home looking dusty. He wants to come home looking fresh. You know, he's used to providing, and now he has to depend on someone to provide for him. So for me, and I can only talk about how I deal with my friends or the people that I love, is giving someone something sometimes causes resentment. What I do is give them an opportunity. You know what I mean? I give them that support, because culturally, because we're always struggling, because, you know, there's no second or third generation money, we never have that accessible or expendable income to give someone else a cushion, because we're always trying to provide a cushion for ourselves. Everyone needs help when they dig themselves a hole. Some people deserve to dig it out themselves because they've hurt so many people. But some people, you know, they deserve that support, that family. They deserve to be able to know that they're not going to have to worry about eating or have to go back to hustling. All my friends are strong men, and they say, listen, I'll do it the right way, but if I got to eat, I'm going to do what I got to do. And you got to respect that. And I do have to respect that. Now, if I love that person, I'm going to make it so that they have options. But there's not so many options presented to us, and those are the things that give us anxiety and give us fear. Those are the things that are put into our brain. For me, I don't expect the government to do a goddamn thing for me, right? It's the same way Calvin doesn't expect anything from Jay-Z. It would be nice if people done the right thing, but traditionally they don't. So I don't depend on, you know, federal, public, government, or anything. Just like I said, I quarantined myself 2 weeks before they quarantined me. Had I been waiting for them, I'd probably be sick. So I don't listen to what they do. The advice, they generalize so that they can cut a check. We have to figure out how to give another option, and then figure out how to go to the government and say, now you pay for this system. But if we depend on them to develop a system, they will never understand how to do anything but control us. And you have to understand, I don't resent the fact that they try to control us. I respect it, because they're weaker than us. And if they figured out how to control us without physical violence, kudos to them. But it's for us to figure out how to control them. We have to reverse that. We don't want the help. We want the strength. And they're not going to give it to us. We have to give it to us. You know what I mean?
Right. Just to piggyback on that one thing that you said, what we need the government to do is to remove their boot off of the neck.
But we got to present an option for them.
Right? Just to remove your boot off of somebody's neck. That's the barrier, right? And give opportunity for systems, meaning me as a public health physician, you as an entrepreneur, someone else as a politician, to be able to come together and to build intentional systems to give people opportunity, right? Because otherwise, I'll give an example. You look at the black billionaire, I'm forgetting his last name, who when he went and he spoke at Howard, he gave money to pay for the loans of those who were in that graduating class, right? So that was going to change the life cycle of those people who were present in that graduation.
They don't have to go get a job.
If we want to put that on an exponential level, we need to think about how do we remove the barriers for those who weren't at the graduation. That's just what I'm bringing to the table.
How about don't make them go to college and pay all that and teach them some stuff that's going to really help them, instead of making them go into the world. Like, see, here's the thing, right? The problem is the only people that can help are the people that are relatable.
Right.
The people that can articulate, like a person like you. But you're on the front line every day. You're not, you don't have time for politics. So it's kind of hard to have that balance. Our real fighters are out there fighting. And, sometimes we have like a Congressman Andre Carson, or a Senator, Eddie Middleton, that's one of us. But a lot of times, there's like 100 people in Congress. How many of them are black? And the ones that are black, how old are they? How relatable are they? How do they know how to fight? They do the best they can, but we need some young fire like you in there. You need to get in the game. But it's hard to balance, It's hard to balance. But again, I think if we present an option, And then we say, listen, it makes no clinical sense. Someone like you that can speak for us, that looks like us, that can present an option like, yo, don't play us. This is the better way. The only reason why you be doing this is to outsource for a skim and to control, and us to be able to have a platform to showcase when they do it so that we can really have a voice. But the problem is we don't think our voice counts. You know, we think we're yelling at deaf ears because we're always waiting for things to change instead of changing it. So we got to change it, and then we'll work that other political stuff out, you know, in an organized way. But first we got to lead by example. You know, I got to have a television network to complain about the way they treat television networks. You know what I mean? I can't say, yo, you don't treat television networks right. This is what they should be doing. I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? So unless we lead by example, we can't expect them to do nothing unless we doing it. If we ain't doing it, don't expect them to do it. And please don't expect them to think of a plan for us other than to control us. I depends on them for nothing. You know, I depend on us. I feel safer with y'all than the government if I got into a problem. You know?
I have a question, Mr. Dash.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is Pastor Princess. My question is, first of all, as an educator, I really see the value of storytelling in order to impact and influence people. As an educator, what I notice is that a lot of the students that I work with, they see the fantasy of the streets versus the reality of the streets. And so I wanted to ask you, how do we get young people to listen, to see themselves as bosses first? Because I see the front end of instructional racism in terms of the education system and the impact it has on young people. But how do we get our kids to really listen and see themselves for who they really are, their value, so that they don't buy into the fantasy?
Well, you know, the thing about kids is they're kids. You know, their level of understanding, their brain's not developed yet. The only thing they listen to are the things and the people they respect. So unless you're the coolest, they're not listening to you. You know, it is what it is. Unless you're winning, they're not listening to you. You know, and that's the reason why I think this movement is important, because you're teaching through entertainment. You're looking cool, but saying some things that are positive. You have to trick younger people. You know, it is what it is, because when you tell a younger person that you're teaching them, automatically they're going to say, I'm not listening. I don't want to be taught. Because I know that because I was a kid. You know, I know that because I never respected my teachers because they didn't have the kind of money I wanted. They weren't driving the cars I wanted. When I was 16 and had a better car than my principal, I was already checked out. I was like, why would I listen to you? You know, what advice can you give me other than to make me drive the Dodge that you drive and you went to college for it? I didn't want it. But the fact of the matter is I learned from, you know, I made a movie from Paid in Full. That situation, I personally saw it. It made me quit everything. I said, look, I want to live like this, but I don't want to die like that. You know what I'm saying? So I got to figure out how to live like this, but not die like that. It means you got to sell something, but it got to be legal. I'm going to sell weight, but I'm going to sell weight of content. I'm going to sell weight of music. I sell nickels now. Actually, I sell $7 bottles. You know what those are? $7 subscriptions. And right now I'm going hand to hand. I'm on my block, and I'm going to get the block clicking. And then I'll hit other people with weight. Same game. You just have to switch it up. It's about perspective. But again, the original question is, how do you teach the kid? You got to be as cool as the kid. It's the only way.
And what I see in it too, I see, you got to mute that, babe. I see Mr. Dash applying what he learned to business the same way that the Messiah applied farming, fishing. The Messiah applied everything he learned, and he used it to give people understanding about spiritual things. The other thing I want to emphasize is this. I want to emphasize that we should be the ones who come up with answers. You know, we should be the ones who come up with answers how to reach the young. We should be the ones who come up with those answers. And the way that I do it is I internalize it, you know. And once again, going and piggyback on what Dr. Apostle Chris said, and yourself, Pastor Princess, people can learn through stories. My journey with Christ began when I could relate to a black man, but this black man went to West Point and he quit. And I thought that was crazy. But hearing the story, I began to relate. And then what I wanted to just really piggyback on my wife real quick before someone else asks a question, even concerning your brother, I feel that nobody can change until they want to change.
True.
So everyone has to come to a point where they see, why do I need to change and what's the benefit of the change? Otherwise, there'll be no need to change. So a lot of times, this is not something you can force, but this is something you have to do. And the difference, I believe, with you guys, is that by using, the gifts that you have, you can pull someone out of their world into your world. And that's where it becomes tangible. The same way Mr. Dash is using the things he experienced, and he's using it for positive, he's using it to make bosses. Whatever you learn on a spiritual level, you should be using to make people into bosses.
To add to that, I believe myself, with change, you have to start dreaming again. A lot of people, even the ones that's locked up, that's in jail, a lot of them just do their time. But, when they go to sleep to just pure darkness. They wake up in jail, they go to sleep for the 7 or 8 hours that they do go to sleep. It's pure darkness. And then when they wake up, don't have nothing else other to do other than just to get through the day, try to survive the best way they can, eat their 3 meals a day, and then go on to the next step and the next stage. It's some going thing until it's time for them to be peaceful. So you got to keep in mind, when they came to jail, they lost sight of their dreams retreat. So now when they jail, they didn't shake away from them. Some people like myself, I started dreaming again when I wanted to come home and do something different and what I was prior to coming in doing all that. I didn't want to go home and sell drugs. I didn't want to, do so many things as well. So I didn't want to have to go through all that no more. I was tired. I didn't want to have to keep on pushing myself to try to be somebody who I didn't.
61 people.
I think when Mr. Klein comes back on, the fix is he has to have just audio, because when he had video and audio, it takes up too much. So if he just has audio, I don't know about you guys, but I can hear exactly what he's saying when it's just audio.
Is he still there?
Yeah.
Just go audio.
Yeah, what I'm saying was I didn't. Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, we can hear you clear now. Now it's good. Now it's not. You there? Clock?
Yeah, I'm gonna start all over again because I didn't start all over again. They didn't hear me.
No, we can hear you, but it was going in and out. But it's still going in and out now.
Say it again.
I heard you, but it was going in and out. But it's still going in and out. Pause.
Can you?
Make sure you're not walking around in that perfect spot that we can hear.
Okay.
Yeah, so right there, wherever you was, where it said okay, that was a good spot.
No, I'm sitting in one spot.
No, I said you might have to move to a better spot.
Can you hear me good now?
Yeah. You there?
Can you hear me now?
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me good now?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. No, my thing was to add to change is to start dreaming again. A lot of guys that actually do go to jail, they go in and lost sight of their dreams while they was on the streets, and then when they go to jail, they don't have no dreams. They go to sleep, 8 hours of sleep, pure darkness. They don't have no thoughts in their mind about doing anything but when they get released and go home. And then when they get home, they still walk with no dreams. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that I think is very important, is just to instill that. I went through a whole lot while I was in there. I was still, my first few years, after getting 25 years, the first time when I went to prison, I was still selling drugs from jail. And I wasn't selling drugs on the streets, I was selling drugs in jail. And that was the thing for me, whereas, me having the time, it healed me to still do the things. Although I wasn't making the same type of money that I was making on that level on the street, I found a way to condition myself to not feel the pain by still being in jail and doing what I was doing. But after a few years, I had to realize that I'm not here forever. So I have to make a change, and I have to start dreaming again and start having hope for myself to go home. And that's what I did, you know what I mean? But a lot of people don't do that. And to answer the young lady's question from the beginning when she was asking about her brother, I would like for her to ask him, when's the last time he dreamed about anything? Like, you know what I mean? When was the last time you dreamed about something and really tried to pursue and make it a reality dream? Not a dream that you want to be a billionaire in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Make it a reality dream, something that's feasible, reach within, and try to obtain it. You know. I wonder if y'all actually heard me.
No, we heard you. I heard you. That was good. That was clear.
Okay.
And one of the things is that I feel some people don't know how to dream. They're in an environment that they never get taught to dream. And us as leaders and people who've made it, it's our job to teach those people how to start a dream or how to envision a dream, to pursue it.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, if I want something, I have to be able to visualize it.
Right.
I got to be able to actually go to it, like it's the future, like I'm there. You know, I look at what my dream looks like, and then I actually figure out what's going to make me get there slower, what's going to stop me, and how to get there quicker. Then I go back to my present, and then I can articulate my very dream and my energy to other people, because it's hard to make a dream come true on your own. And then we all have focused energy, and the more focused, pure energy, the quicker things become realized, you know?
Right.
But you do have to be able to visualize what you want. If you don't, like, everybody has to have a war to fight for. You know, you might lose some battles in between, but it doesn't matter if you lose the battle. All that matters is if you win the war. You know, sometimes you'll lose a battle to learn so you can win the war. But if you know what your war is, you know, it doesn't matter. In between that, you don't even feel like it's a loss. Nothing bothers you as long as you're going to get to your war, as long as that's going to be won. But you got to know what that war is. What my war is, I want a television network. My head is down till I get it. Every lawsuit, every single time I got to yell at all that, somebody snatched some shortbread, that's a battle. I learned from that battle, you can take that little 100 racks, so when I make $1 billion, I'll learn how to not let you touch it. You know, it's just a learning experience. But you got to know what your dream is or what the war you're fighting is. You got to know it.
Calvin Klein, I was listening to what you said and was very powerful. And that's the business I'm in. I'm in the business. My question to you, what you said really blessed me, because you were talking about to have a dream, you know, and some people don't have any dreams. My question to you is, what made you dream again?
I knew that I had light at the end of the tunnel. A lot of guys I was doing time with had life. They wasn't going to see the light of day. And although I had initially 25 years, and then I gave 10 years back, meaning that I had to do 15. I did 13 and a half, almost 14 years out of that. I knew that I had to make a change for the better for myself if I wanted to go out there to survive. I had some legends during my time that got killed when they went home after doing a lot of time. And I felt like they went out there, they got in the way, and they didn't give themselves a chance or an opportunity to live their life after prison. And I just said that I didn't want to succumb to that. I didn't want to put myself in that type of position. I studied everything I could. I went to every program that the jails had. I went to, they even told me that I was programmed too much. You know, really, to be honest with you. I got my GED after trying a few times in the past, but never took it serious. And then then my brother told me one day, he said, when are you going to stop trying to be Calvin Klein?
Why?
You know what I mean? Mommy and daddy raised us, and it would be a great disservice to them that you won't be allowed to come to their funeral if they pass while doing your time.
Man, that's real.
You know, and that's what woke me up. Realized that what am I doing? A legend from the Bronx told me one time before. This was in 1993 while I was in prison at Terry Hudwood and Boy George from the Bronx. He told me, he said, "Why do you worry about your name so much? Why are you doing everything to protect your name? Because anybody can call you whatever they want to call you, and you can't defend every time somebody has something to say about you." And I used to let my pride get in the way of a lot of things, a whole lot of things. Sometimes I let it get in my way now. But what I do now is I call it thinking for the dummy. Like I can't, I was a dummy myself for a long time, but then I reversed it and I started that, it didn't harm me and my family, anything like that or whatever. But I just, you can hide behind social media or whatever, but at the end of the day, I just say, you know what? I have to change. I have to start putting more things in my mind, because if I put more things in my mind, I give myself a better chance of being able to survive out here. My mind was empty. All I had in my mind was being a drug dealer when I was on the street when I came in. So if I would allow my mind the same way, when I got out, I would have been doing the same thing because I wouldn't have knew anything else. So I read a lot of books. I did a lot of studying. And then after that, then when I came home, the opportunity presented itself. I'm able to have enough fuel in my brain. A lot of people on that thing. To be able to feed whatever that means. I wasn't going to be a liability, Jay-Z. I wasn't going to be a liability. You become a boss when you become an asset.
Yeah. Hey, Calvin Klein. What's good, boss? How you doing, man? Listen, I respect what you're saying, and my story is very similar to your story too. Like I was locked up, and honestly, if I ain't hear from the Holy Spirit, I would have came home to the same thing I left. What people don't always talk about is when you get locked up, whenever you come home, you usually come home to that same environment. And whenever you come home to that same environment, it stuck you right back in. Because now you coming home and you behind. So you always trying to catch up. And we all know that the prison system is a business, and it ain't really out there to help us reevaluate the way we were thinking before we went in. So with me, even though when I came home off of bail. I came home on bail. So I told myself, the first lesson I learned when I got locked up was you could go from being the man for years and being a bum the minute they lock you up. Like they could take everything, take all your money, they take your crib, your clothes, everything is gone. And then you just become an average person. So while you in there, either you gonna think about, all right, how I'm gonna get out, and when I do get out, how I'm gonna bounce back. Or, like how you did, start reading books. But for me, it was crazy because I heard from the Holy Spirit while I was in there. To the point where when I was making phone calls, people were saying I was crazy because I was telling them what Yahweh told me about me beating my case. And when I came home, I forgot. I thought I was going crazy myself, until I actually went to court and my case was dismissed, And when I went to court and my case was dismissed, it brought me back to the word. And I ain't getting no regular word like like you're gonna be blessed. Like simple. I got like specific words like I'm gonna go to a ministry that's gonna change the world. I'm gonna beat my case. I'm gonna go to Africa. I'm gonna marry a princess, and I'm gonna be a superstar through my music. And Calvin Klein, let me tell you, my wife is in the other room right now. She's a principal. Her name is Princess. Right? I go to the best church. I go to the only church. I always say this. If I leave the house tomorrow, I ain't gonna go to no other church because ain't no other church like the church that I go that we got, you know? And that's just being real blunt. You know, I'm at the South Africa, right? I beat my case, went to South Africa, go to the best. Look, I'm talking to you and I'm talking to Dan and Dash. And I had a prophecy when I was locked up saying I was gonna be a multi-millionaire, and I'm over here building a billionaire. You know? So when I came home, even though I had those powerful words, right? I told myself I wasn't gonna sell drugs no more, but I still was sick. I still was doing other dirt. You know? I still was doing other dirt till I have a friend of mine, my good brother today, his born day. Happy birthday, Pastor Johnson. He invited me to church, and he's on the live too. And he invited me to church, and I'm like, what, church? Nah, I ain't going to church. And then he kept on asking me, and I'm like, yo, I'm going to go. Then I, smoked a blunt. And then Bishop, he prayed for me. He had tears coming down my eye, and he told me everything that the Holy Spirit told me when I was locked up. And if it wasn't for the Holy Spirit, if it wasn't for Yahweh, my life wouldn't have been the same. But to speak off of what you were saying is, when people get locked up, they usually don't have nothing positive to come home to look forward to. So when they come home, like them and Dad said, somebody gonna throw them some clothes, buy them the kicks, buy them, get them the money for 2-3 weeks. After you're not gonna take care of that brother forever. So after a month or two, he gotta figure out how to maintain that fly gear, trying to keep money in his pocket, and then he go into that same routine and he fall right back into the trap. So
that's all because he lost sight of himself, though. That's really because he lost sight of himself. You don't walk with that faith like you had. I found it late on in my time too, though. To be honest with you, I actually did. But at the beginning of my time, I didn't feel God from God because everything was God. When I got my time, when you get a lot of time, you hate Pearl,
I think we lost him. Also, we have OG Ryder on the line as well. And, he has some authentic experiences. Straight from Newark. Oh, he's right there. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. The world too much. I did. It's into my time where that's what started feeling God started receiving a lot of things just basically coming my way and as signs. You know what I mean? I didn't yeah.
Hey Calvin, try to move around because you're going to pause in and out. Y'all can hear me? Real quick, I got a question, Bishop. I can't explain what y'all are.
Yeah, I can't.
You still can't hear you. Let me ask a quick question to the bishop real quick. But I can't hear you. It's going in and out. You got to move around. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't explain. Like if I were to say, like I couldn't call it church, just like how Do It All couldn't call it church. I can't call it because it's like you're speaking for us. And I've never.
It's real church, man. It's real. Mr. Dash is real, man. And that's what real knows real. And Minister Ron, I love him. He like a son, though he can tell a story a whole lot better than that. Ron was facing like 20 years, and he's going to take the whole cap for his whole crew. And while he was facing 20 years, and he told his whole crew, "I'm gonna let y'all go. I'm gonna take the blame for everything." Then he hears a word that he's gonna beat his rep. So when he goes to court, You know?
That's ill. I'm gonna just tell you just not to cut you off real fast. The difference between a real serious person and a non-serious person is they're classy, they're tasteful. You know, if you notice, regardless to what you asking Calvin, he ain't gonna say nothing bad about Jay. You know what I mean? This guy, he's not gonna say, yo, I was gonna take the rap from my crew when niggas is snitching. He didn't even throw that there. You know, that's classy. You know what I mean? But not everybody has that kind of like eloquent street taste. You know what I mean? It's being cut from a certain kind of cloth. You understand? But I still want to know, what do you call it? Because what religion is? Because I can't say. I don't even know how to articulate it. I really don't.
I got a good one for you, Mr. Dash. Yo, our religion is love, man. And the thing is, bro, you know, we love so strong, you know, that I believe everybody can feel it, you know. And we love so strong that when I tell you something that you know nobody else told me. You know only the Heavenly Father could have said certain things like that. Mm-hmm. That's how my relationship is with you, Mr. Dash. I mean, Mr. Dash, me and you, we like spiritual twins, you know. And the thing is, you know, somebody in your family, not just in your family, but also in Calvin Klein, there's somebody who has a spiritual connection. You hear me? That the Heavenly Father is honoring their prayers from years ago, amen, and He is guiding our paths together. Because all I hear is nothing but leadership. I believe your goal to bring change has been given to you spiritually from above. Okay? I believe, I'm just going to blow up with you, so much we know about quote-unquote religion, and just about every religion. I know a lot of Muslim brothers who tell me when they did Hajj, they felt the racism there. You know what I'm saying? So racism is just not caught in one thing. Racism is caught in a whole bunch of different cultures. But when your love don't match up to your religion, I don't want your religion. When your love don't match up to what you say you read, it don't add up to that. And then when I look at the text, when I look at the Messiah talked about farming, you know, he talked about fishing, the same way you talk about things that relate. I mean, here it is, you talking to us about things to some people who would be drug dealers' terms, but we understand exactly what you're saying. Really. I mean, the doc, she'll use all these words that I might not understand, but when the doc uses all them big words, man, I break it down to a simple form. But the thing is, man, what I was telling everybody before this time, like Calvin Klein, I don't know if he has a book, man. He needs to write.
Yeah, he's powerful.
Yeah, I do. It's called Neighborhood is Under Siege.
Thank you. We need you to take a picture of that book with you, send it to Mr. Dash so we can put it everywhere and promote it. You see what I'm saying? Because there are so many people in our neighborhoods that don't feel love. And when you don't feel love, you're gonna react on that. You know?
But let me say this though, to add to that though, right? The books is one thing though, but Oprah's chair is no longer there. So, or really to kind of go with the book game, or even really don't really want to say the game, but to try to go to book. A lot of people in the hood is not reading books. So what we're doing now is we're creating more of a visual of that story for them to be able to see it more than to want to try to gather their attention to have them sit down and read it. Because I hate to say nobody's reading nothing no more.
Let me say this, Calvin.
That's where we're losing them at.
Let me say this, Calvin. What he was about to flex on you is his love army, right? He's got a love army. So what he's saying is, yo, he loves you right now. He loves your message right now.
I appreciate it.
And he wants to show you his love army, how quickly your book can get visibility, how powerful the love is.
Yeah.
But what I want to tell you, what Calvin's saying is, you know, remember when I spoke to the bishop, he said, you know, that young Jay-Z looked just like him. That when y'all shot that, I said, wait, I can't take the credit for that. Calvin shot that, you know. And then I immediately said, Bishop, I gotta call you back, because every time I talk to the bishop, he makes me think. That's why I like him. And so I went and I called you, and that's when we started talking about the movie you already have shot and all the things. See, Calvin is a general, right? So when he came to me, he didn't ask me for nothing. He came and he brought things to the table. He brought a book to the table. He brought a movie already shot. So really, we shot that literally the first half hour. He walked in and we just hung out. and we shot that real quick, and we shot so much more. And then when I was editing it, he was like, I already shot the movie. I was like, oh, send it. And I was able to use his footage. So really, we had a partnership. I brought just as much to the table as him. He brought just as much to the table as me. And both of us were equally important. I couldn't have done this without him. And there's things that he couldn't have done that I did without me in that particular instance. So it's a fair exchange. So even though, he had to learn a harder way, his perspective is clear. And I don't even want to get into the other garbage and bull stuff that I had to go through, even talking to him. It really got serious in the street. He's from Brooklyn, I'm from Harlem. There was some gray areas. People, it was a lot of things that went on. But at the end of the day, it was productive and nothing came out of it but love. And like you said, what he's teaching, a lot of people need to know because he's been there. And, it's good for her to say what she says, but, very eloquent, fast. Yeah.
That's just how I feel. I'd rather give all these young kids a chance and give them all my mistakes. I'd rather explain to them about all my mistakes. I tell them like this, I don't want to preach to you. When I was 14, I didn't want nobody telling me what to do, so I'm not telling you what to do. All I'm just telling you is just take heed of the story, take heed of what I'm trying to tell you. Don't fall into the trap with your uncle that's locked up or your brother or your cousin's locked up and tell you that they're doing good in jail, because they're not doing good in jail. They're not spending the commissary limit every month. They're not getting on the phone every month. It's expensive to live in jail now. If you don't understand and if you don't realize it. The computers cost, the phones cost, commissary cost. You know what I mean? And if you came in with nothing and you're walking around there with nothing, your time is going to be that much more harder. You know what I mean? Why not be out on the streets and go through it and try to figure it out, rather than be in jail going through it and have to suffer even more? So that's what I stand for. I don't stand for glorifying stories. Sometimes I have to get emotional. Sometimes I have to kind of get deep with it and get dark with it. But I don't enjoy that. I don't. I have 4 daughters and one granddaughter and a grandson. So what am I leaving behind? I don't want a young man knocking on my door, looking for my daughter and telling me his name is Calvin Klein. You know what I mean? I don't want that. So I don't take pride in. I take pride in who I am now, and I definitely do not take pride in who I used to be.
Powerful.
Mr. Klein, this is Minister Crystal. I do have a question. I'm good. So I haven't done as much time as you guys have, but I did 2 months for selling drugs, and I came out with 5 years probation. With that being said, even when you come out, do you think that there should be different programs to help people to understand there is a different route that they can take to get to the necessary things that they need to get to in entrepreneurship or going back to school or whatever things that they need to do coming out of prison?
Everything helps. You know what I mean? Everything that's productive helps. It can't hurt nothing. I myself, I didn't want to go to New York because I knew that the expectations of me being who I used to be, they was going to try to put that type of pressure on me to being that person right then and there. And I didn't have the cars. I didn't have the jewelry. I didn't have the lifestyle that I once had. I had to come home and I had to go through a whole new rebuilding process. So what I did was I went down south to South Carolina where my mom lived at the time, and I went to a halfway house. And when I went to the halfway house, I stayed there for 5 months. That's where I built that. When I first walked out on the streets, it was a different, the adjustment of me learning how to walk when you in jail, you walk on dirt when you walk in the traffic. But now I'm on the street and I'm walking on the ground. I tripped a few times. It was like, wow, I can't believe this. Like, I can't even, I learned how to walk out here again. And then I went to a program called the Fatherhood Families Engagement Program. I went out there to go help the community, not a community that I was raised with, but a community that I could have either did one thing, I could have went straight, and I could have just found somebody that related to the things that I used to do and helped them. I could have been a negative person and could have destroyed the community. But I did. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to come out here. I'm going to work. I'm going to give myself a chance. And that's what's important. coming home and giving yourself a chance, giving yourself, why come home if you're going to go out there to do the same thing? You know, I know everybody got a, you know, you have a date, you got released, but you might as well tell them that you don't even want to go home. You know, because, no, you know what, don't let me out, because I'm going out there to do the same thing. And if you have that mindset, then maybe it might be best for you to stay there. But for a person that want to come home, you have to want to come home and want to do the right thing. That's just the bottom line. If you don't want to do the right thing, then you're going to come home and you're not going to do the right thing. And that's the sad part about it.
Well, Mr. Klein, I have a quick question. I'm Prophetess Jackie. And my question is, your story is very powerful, and I believe that everyone should tell their story because it's valuable. My question to you, where the things that you know now, because they say hindsight is 20/20, right? Do you feel like it was worth it?
No, it wasn't. And I hate when somebody tell me that, I wouldn't change a thing. If I could do it all over again, I wouldn't, because I want to be the person I am today. Me, myself, I would change everything. Because my thing is, if I change it, then I wouldn't have to do 20 years in prison. In totality, I did a total of 20 years altogether. I wouldn't have to do that. I wouldn't have to have my family suffer during the process of me and my destruction. I wouldn't have had to go through all the things. So of course, if you glorify the lifestyle, the rich and famous, the major drug dealers, and you in that circle and everything else, then of course you wouldn't change it. But I believe that I myself I'm smart enough, and I was smart enough then. I just didn't utilize it to the best of my ability. I got in the way of my gifts. God gave us all a gift. I blocked my own blessing and got in my own way almost all my life. So that's what I refuse to do now. I refuse to not get caught up in the web. I refuse not to be friends with the devil. I'm best friends with God. That's who I'm best friends with. And I don't care to be friends with the devil. The devil had me for a long time. You can't have me no more.
I got a two-part question, then we're going to wind it down because it won't be too long. But I have a very, 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 very dear friend here. I want her to say something. That's Sister Kim King. But anyway, Keith. Keith came into the ministry when he was 9 years old. Then Keith became basically a stick-up kid, sticking up gas station. And then he came back home. We lost him last February. He was shot 5 times in the back. Worst phone call. Someone saying they shot my son, and then I don't want him to die alone. And myself, Righteous Ron, Apostle Kelvin. But for me, it's not just him, there's others that grew up in my ministry, but they fell through my fingers like. And what I remember, I want his mother to speak because she's on the line. I want her to speak. What I remember is, the last couple of times I spoke to him, he was a tall dude. But what I didn't like, he kept saying nobody on the streets could beat me. And I told him, I said, look, man, everybody can be beat me, especially the person who's challenging everybody. But what I told him was, when you come in here, I want you to always show respect, show love, but if you don't mean business, I don't want you to come. Now that I feel like every time I saw him, I wish I would have yelled at him or screamed at him. But Kim, I'm going to let you take it from there to ask Mr. Klein what you want to ask him. You got to unmute Kim.
I'm sitting here and I'm listening to the stories, and I'm listening to everything that I thought I was doing right for my son, everything that I thought I was instilling in him to tell him, Keith, you can't beat the streets. A lot of people that came before you tried to beat the streets, they thought they was tough. They thought that, they couldn't be beat. And I used to always tell them, I said, you have the best of everything. I said, you have Yahweh. You know what I mean? I said, you have a church family that love you. I said, Keith, you have more than half the people that you hang around. You have people that's willing to pray for you and war for you when you need help. I used to always encourage my son to go to the bishop to talk to him. But my son would be like, Mom, Bishop know. Bishop know. Bishop know how it is. Bishop know how I am. And I said, Keith, you got to tell him. You have to just reach out and tell him, because if I'm always doing it, they think it's me. The most hurtful thing for me, it wasn't the phone call. It was seeing my son not able to look at me no more. When I saw my son in the hospital, it was hard for me to understand that he was gone, that he was never going to open his eyes to see me ever again, and I would never ever be able to see him alive. I had so many hopes for him. I had so many dreams for him, and now my son been gone for a whole year, and it's hard for me as his mother, because he has 4 other siblings. He has 2 other sisters and 2 other brothers, and I'm a single parent, divorced, and it's hard trying to raise them, because sometimes I feel like, wow, I'm by myself. I lost one child. How do I not lose them? But because of the Hashem Yahweh, because Yahweh makes sure that I'm always in every service, I show up. I consistently judge myself as if, like, wow, I don't want to push them. I don't want to push them too hard, because what happens if they run out in the street because I'm pushing them too hard? Because they look at me like, well, Mommy, you doing too much. Because this is what I get all the time. Mommy, you doing too much. Mommy, you want us to do this, and Mommy, you want us to do that. And yes, I do, because you need to understand how real it is. They lost their brother to the streets because they kept choosing people to be their friends that was not their friends. And I've been telling them that their whole life, and they just don't seem to believe me. You know what I mean? You have to know who you're choosing to be your friend. The person that shot my son was supposedly a friend of his. So my kids walk around, oh, Mommy, that's my friend. How can you keep calling people your friend after your brother got killed by somebody that was supposed to be his friend? It's hard, but because you guys have told your stories, you allow me to see into my son's life, because my son was in jail 3 different times. He was on parole twice, and he violated, not because he got hired or anything, but because he didn't want to go. He didn't want to go. He kept saying, Mommy, I'm not going back to jail. I'm not going back to jail. I had a dream. Well, it's not a dream. The Holy Spirit told me that someone around my son that was very close to him was thinking about murdering him. I called my son and I told him. He kept saying, Mommy, I'm good, Mommy. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing. I said, boy, shut up and listen to me. I said, I'm telling you what the Holy Spirit told me. Somebody trying to take you out. No, Mom, I'm good. I said, Keith, you gotta shut up, check your circle, see what's going on around you, and pay attention. My son said, Mommy, I'm good. He said, Yahweh got me. I said, but Keith, you gotta understand, if Yahweh telling me this, because you ain't listening. 2 weeks later, my son was dead. The night when Bishop came to the hospital, and Bishop said to me, when I called him, he said, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to go to the hospital? And that's all I had to say. He showed up. And when he was in the room where my son was, the look on his face, I'll never forget.
I was gonna fight the cop. I thought he was disrespectful. I thought he was beyond disrespectful. He was a mother. He's wrong. I mean, of course, you know, it's a quote unquote criminal case, but this is his mother. They wasn't letting his mother come in. They went too far. But I never heard the dream before, Kim. That touched me. I never heard it.
Wow. But you guys have opened my eyes to a whole lot of things. You have shown me, you know, into my son did, and not just my son, but a lot of people that live in the city. And you just helped me open my eyes to see things that I'm not going to allow the children that I do have to continue to walk in. So I really do thank you all for being so open and being so honest, because you blessed me in more ways. I just don't have the words, but I thank you tremendously.
No, well, this is Calvin. I want to first and foremost say I give my condolences to your loss. I really wanted to cut in so many different times when you were talking over. I just wanted to just allow you to be able to clear your heart, you know what I mean, and just open your heart up to us. I lost a friend, and I get a little short story of it. When I lost a friend, he was my co-defendant. Grew up with him, my best friend and everything. He did his 11 and a half years, he went home. In less than 90 days, he got killed. And that's because he still was chasing who he was. And while we was doing the time, my last 6 or 7 years, I had to pull away from him because he still had that mindset. And every time we talked through conversations while we were both locked up, he always kept talking about how he was going to go home and continue. And I told him, I said, yo, we got to find a different way. We have to pull away from that. You know what I mean? Like, yo, this guy, did you hear this guy got killed when he went home? Did you hear this other guy got killed when he got home? Did you hear this other guy? I said, I don't want us to be that. We can switch it up right now and be something different if we think different. And he just didn't want to hear it. It was just still some things in his system that he had to get out of. And no matter what nobody said, no matter what nobody did, even if he probably would have walked out the door and somebody would have given him $1 million, he still would have probably invested that $1 million into the wrong thing because he didn't have it out of his system, you know. And when he got killed, his mother was there, and she came on the scene. And when they had him in the ambulance, she told me, she said that the worst thing for her is that his head leaned to the side and he had his eyes open. And she said that she heard him speak to him, and she said that. He said, Ma, I'm sorry. I told you when I came home, I wasn't going to hurt you again. I'm sorry, and I can't come back from this. You know what I mean? So she told me, because I was like the son to her, she said, he took almost all of me, and now you home. You here to take the rest? And I had to hug her, and I told her, I said, nah, Miss Diane, no, I'm not like, no, I'm not, I'm different. But how can you tell somebody something about being different when you haven't even showed them any part of the change yet? You know, my thing to you is that you have other kids. You can't overprotect them. You know, you just can't overprotect them. It's impossible because when they leave your eyesight, even if they're doing wrong, they're going to go out there and try to do as much more wrong before they come home. Because they know that in your eyes, they're going to have to show you what you want them to be, what you want to see out of them. I was the same way. I hid behind my brother. My brother was the worst of the worst in my mother and eyes. He stayed in trouble, was going to group homes and everything else. But I hid behind that. Nah, Ma, I'm the baby. Nah, Ma, I'm not like that. No, I got arrested. I told my mother it wasn't my fault 4 times. You know, 4 different times my mother believed me because I was her baby. I used to go to church. I was an usher in church. I did everything I was supposed to do on Sunday. But Monday through Saturday, I was the worst thing that you could think of. You know? And when I went home and when I went into the household, I was my mommy's baby. I didn't let her see those things that I was doing out there in the streets. And that's where the pain hurt even more, and I understand where you're coming from because the same face I see now is the same face I saw in my own mom.
Wow.
You know. But at the end of the day, I would strongly say is just don't overpressure me. You know what I mean? I really was, and I'm a prime example of being overpressured. You know, a prime example of it. You know, I think in my mind I became worse than my brother. You know? But I don't know, I mean my heart is heavy like yours because, you know, your loss is my loss. You know, your pain is my pain. I really feel that, you know, and that's the reason why I passionately tell my story the way I do. I tell my story with heart. I don't tell my story with anything else, with nothing else. I tell it with heart. You know what I mean? You have to feel what I'm telling you because if you don't have a heart, then you're not going to feel a heart. Mm-hmm. Bottom line. You know, I understand your pain. I understand what he put you through because I put my mother through the same exact thing. And why would I not want to change who I used to be if I know that it's not going to hurt my mother? Mm-hmm. Why would I not want to do that? My mother have to still be in court talking about that's my baby? And I had to sit there and get all this time in front of my mother? All the clippings that Dame had, all the trailers that I put out, you know what I'm saying, on social media, stuff like that, all that stuff is true. I try to stick 100% to my story. You know, whether if it seems like too much or whatever, well, that too much is what I went through. You know, but guess what though? You know, at the end of the day, I'm here for a reason. I had all the beefs, all the problems, all the attempts on my life and everything else. I had murder cases, I had drug cases, I had attempt murder cases. I had the worst. And at the end of the day, when I thought that God wasn't there for me or there with me, God protected me through the whole process, through the whole time. You know, right now I'm indebted to God. That's the only one person that I'm indebted to. I don't owe nobody else nothing. I don't owe Calvin Klein nothing. I just want to be Calvin, man. You should leave me alone with that. I'm only telling the story because I have to. But trust me, I don't want to tell you nothing. Because I don't want to go back to who I used to be. When a person telling a story like that, they have to feel that pain as they telling it to you.
Right.
They have to. So every time I tell my story, I tell my story with terrible conviction, with terrible pain, darkness. I love the light. I love my freedom. I love all of that. But I have no choice but to sacrifice myself because that's what God tells me I have to do. You don't have no choice. You have to tell your story. I'm telling you, you have to tell your story. And I'm going to protect you this time.
Amen.
And I'm going to bring you to the right people. I went around a lot of people. And I didn't think that Dame was the one. I didn't think that, you know what I mean? Like, you know, not saying I didn't think that he was the one, but Dame doing Dame and I'm doing me and I'm going up to HBO. I'm getting my lawyers. I'm going over here. I'm going to PH1. I'm going to everybody you can think of. But the one person that came to me, and me and Dame bumped into each other in the airport. We haven't seen each other in a while. And it was like, what's up? What you up to? And I told him what I was doing. He told me what he was doing. And then he said, yo, when I make the call, be ready. I waited for that call. I waited for the call. I still was working, but I waited for the call. So it wasn't easy. It wasn't hard for me to, as soon as I hung the phone up with him, dang, I'm not going to fly out tonight. I'm going to fly out tomorrow. I'm going to make sure everything is good at my home first. Explain to my family where I'm going and what I'm doing, and I might be out there for a little while. Let me situate everything at home, and then I'll be right out there, brother. And look what happens. Bosses deal with bosses. Generals deal with generals. If I had to answer to anybody, it would only be another boss. Because I don't look up to nobody else, aside from God, but I don't look up to nobody else other than another boss. When Dame is talking in the same conviction as if I was talking to him. That's what makes us alike. That's what will make me alike with any of you guys. So,
well, you know what time it is. What time it is, man? Yo, we with Mr. Dash, we're going to make this happen because I took to be blunt with you. I believe everybody that I have a connection to like this is a spiritual connection and it's a mandate. So I bring an army, man. So we here with Mr. Dash and we're going to make this happen. We're going to make it happen because you're for real, man. You represent change. We're not into building no building. We're not into building no church. You know, we're into letting people have an experience.
Right.
Experience.
Right.
Who I am, that I am is. And everything you said has moved me. I'm the same way. When I mean I'm the same way, before all this even happened, you know, I said, yo, when Mr. Dash said go, we go. And it's based on the fact that you don't need nobody telling you a no to your dream. But once you get that yes, you know it's a spiritual connection. So what I'm bringing an army to help you make this a reality, man. You know, and that's why I feel led. And it's our job to pray. It's our job to fast and make this a reality. Because, like I said before, there's somebody in your lineage, man, who's been praying, bro. Mr. Dash, lineage praying in mine. You know. Come on, y'all. Y'all got to keep it real. Y'all felt this. Come on. I mean, you don't need to hear from me. You heard from the brother. Now you hear from the Holy Spirit. We got to make this happen. You know? Don't nobody bring nothing to us and we don't make something happen. That's what we do. We make something out of nothing, make it happen.
Thank God for Jesus for y'all.
Hey, we love you, man.
Thank you for you. We thank you for you.
And
I want to close out. We've been on here for a while.
Yeah. Two things. You know, since I was filming with Calvin, it's been about a year. And when I speak to him, he's either picking his daughter up from school or walking her through the park. And he's always talking about, you know, college, his daughters, his kids, his family. So, you know, I'm just saying, just based on my experience, nothing that he's saying is phony. And, you know, sometimes he talks about his experiences and the time he's spending with his children. And I'd be like, yo, you're a way richer man than me, because I'd rather be doing that, you know? And everything that he fought for was just so he could have what he has now. So I was just saying that to tell you about the character of the person that was talking and what I personally experienced. And what I wanted to, before we leave, how was this experience, because this is the first time it's ever been done, as a screening and a Q&A? Like, was everyone able to like look at the screening, and then did you feel like there was a Q&A? How was that experience? I'm just curious real fast.
Personally, other than the in and out, you know what I mean, everything was great. You know what I mean? It's always great when you have a circle of people, you know, and I'm just meeting everybody though, but I'm walking away with a whole lot, you know what I mean? Like, I'm full right now. I really am. You know what I mean? I'm complete. Like, I can get very emotional, and that's where I'm at with it right now. You know what I mean? Like, hearing what everybody was saying, it's just, I'm inspired even more to do more, because a lot of times I be out here and feel like I'm on my own. I think a lot of other guys from my past should be able to have the platform like Dame's given and be able to tell their story, because it's needed and necessary. I've been in the jails. You know, I've gone to Rikers Island and talked to the inmates. You know, I've been to Vegas and spoke at Vegas conventions, the YPO, and I've been to Boston and actually was able to speak at Harvard University. You know, and speaking at DC as well. You know, so I look at those for great accomplishments, because I can tell my mom and my dad and my family to say, look, I'm doing something different. I'm not the same person. You know, I'm not who I used to be. You know, I didn't have to do what I used to do to be able to bring food to the table. You know, it don't always have to have a lot of food at the table, just enough for everybody to eat.
Amen.
You know, and I just want to say I appreciate all you guys, man. You know, I have to love you because God say so, but I love you because I love the energy that you guys give. You know what I mean? Like, y'all keeping me going. This right here is keeping me going even much more. You know, and I appreciate you, and I say thank God for all you guys.
Amen.
Amen, man. We love you, brother.
Love you, man.
Absolutely.
Amen. Yes, I love you.
Keep
Strong, man. Keep strong.
Hallelujah.
Much love, much love. Love you.
Hey, Mr. Dash, you got to get that brother my phone number, man. You know how we do, man.
Definitely. So
I just want to say something before we get off, too, if that's cool.
do it all, definitely.
Do it all.
What up?
Give us in
Hey,
5
first
minutes.
of all, man. Say that again?
We got 5 minutes. 12 a.m. is going to cut off.
Television network.
All right, cool. I just want to say thank you, man. Thank you to Dane. Thank you to Calvin for coming on. Shout out to you, OG.
It's all good, man. I appreciate it.
You know, this is, like, for me, just, you know, I sit back and be quiet a lot of times because I don't understand y'all squad if y'all really understand how powerful and how blessed you guys are by having these conversations with these people at this level, man. You know, this is something when I was on that side as an artist, you know, as a creator, this is something that's not normal. You know, it doesn't happen like it's happening until you meet people like Dame, who gives up the plug, he gives you everything, he gives you access. What I'm saying is that everybody is not like Dame in this industry. They're not going to give you the access that you guys are receiving. And sometimes, and I've been guilty of this as an artist, sometimes when you receive certain access, you think it's normal. So when you move ahead, you expect everybody to treat you that way, and that's not like that.
That's definitely not gonna happen.
So I'm telling you guys, you know how I go, Dang. So I'm telling you guys to really do not take this for granted. Do not take this for granted. You guys Yahweh has put you guys in a special place. I'm just asking that you take advantage of it. Become the plug so you can make other people the plug as well, man, because this is not normal.
And let me say this to what he's saying. Let me say this. And everything he's saying is 100%. But also, I have the ability to recognize when something is not normal as well and appreciate it. So the reason why I am giving you this access is because I don't think you guys are normal. And I appreciate who y'all are. You understand what I'm saying?
That's right.
That's the reason. I haven't seen this much power. And I'm telling you, like he's saying, the same way, you know, I'm power, but I appreciate your power. You know what I mean? And he said the same thing to me. Like, you don't even, he said, I can't describe what you're about to see, but you're going to understand the power. And I do. You know what I'm saying? And I do. So thank you, Do It All, for the plug. Thank you for accepting me. And, you know, again, y'all, I felt confident that if it worked here, it could work for the rest of the world.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Amen.
So
What I wanted to end out on real quick before we leave, and Mr. Calvin Klein, it's more than my pleasure to meet you. But I was always determined to build a family. And that came from my grandmother, my grandfather, from the love. What you from is love. And what I can tell you is love don't take advantage of people. Not only does love not take advantage of people, love don't use people. Love don't treat people. And I have no power without love, bro. Some of these people, they came in as teenagers, now they make 6 figures. You hear me? Dash came into my life because of Yahweh. You ain't have no choice. You was coming to my life, bro. I was gonna pray for you. Come on, y'all know how I roll.
Yes, sir.
No, this is what I do. This is serious.
That's right, Bishop.
I fight with my prayers. But don't nobody come into my life by mistake. And everybody that run with me, everybody. Don't nobody stab nobody in the back. No Judas. So what you get, Mr. Klein, you get all heart. You hear me? All heart. The only people who feel left out is the Judas. But look, I don't rap, I don't sing, I don't dance, so I ain't gonna be threatened. I'm not threatened about what Mr. Dash do, because what he do, I can't do. I'm not gonna be threatened by Do It All, because what Do It All does, I can't do. And I'm not threatened by you, because what you do, I don't do. But together, we're gonna change this nation, man. Amen. Amen. We gonna love one another. Y'all hear me? Yeah. Come on, let's make it happen. Amen. Mr. Dash. Amen. Well, man, I'm looking for the next time. That phone call.
I think I'm gonna have a surprise for y'all.
God. Likewise.
Right.
Okay, y'all. Be blessed.
All right. Shalom.
I mean, thank you for everybody. Oh shit. I mean, thank you everybody that was here for that. I appreciate y'all. Hope y'all got something from it. All right, y'all. I love 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 y'all. So that's what it was. Everything's productive. Every second is productive. You know what I mean? And I hope you got something out of this. You know? And you'll see it on Dame Dash Studio. This is what we're doing over here. Entertaining, but you're going to learn. And from authentic people. So, thank you. Holla.
If you want another amazing video with the one and only Dame Dash, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. continue to believe, and I'll see you there.